Hello folks, and welcome to another Richard Head Longbows video. Yes, the channel that helps you make bows and arrows by using mine and Richard's combined experience of 50 plus years in making bows and arrows professionally. And this is one of my catch-up videos where you get to see what I've been doing in the workshop this week. And I've been making this triple laminate bow, which is a bamboo and a yew core with a lemonwood belly. Now all I'm going to do is show you exactly what I do in the tillering process. So I've got the camera, as you can see, here it is. I've got the tiller here behind me. I'm going to stick the bow on it and I'm going to be behind the camera and I'm just going to show you those tillering stages, not the work in between, but just the tillering, so you can see that bow develop from being the straight stave that it is at the moment, or in fact the reflexed stave, it's actually bending the opposite way at the moment, into the finished tillered bow. And yeah, well, here we go. Let's see what happens. Okay, so here we are. We've got that stave up onto the tiller, and this is the first time we've put it up there. We've got the string loose. As you can see, the bow isn't braced at all, and in fact you can see this stave still has the set back, meaning that the limbs are going the opposite direction to where they will eventually go once the bow is braced and is in use. If I pull on the string, the tillering cord there a little bit, that's essentially now flat. So if we'd made this on a flat former, where you glued up those pieces of wood on just a flat piece of wood, they come out like that, but using the curved former we've got a bit of set back. So let's just give this a few pulls and see if we can see anything. So this is the very beginnings of tillering. Excuse all the squeaks and noises that you can hear. The tiller does make quite a few noises. Now you can probably see straight away, hopefully, that one limb there is bending more than the other. Hopefully you can see that. I expect you're all shouting at your screens now which one it is. Can you tell me which one it is? Yep, that's right. The bottom limb is slightly bending more than the top. The top is pretty much straight. The bottom has got a curve in it. You can see the gap there between my finger. Over there, it's straight. Okay, fairly obvious what we need to do. And again, shout at the screen if you know what we need to do. That's right, we need to take some off that top limb. We'll get it back up on the tiller. Meet me back here in, well, for you a few seconds, but for me a few minutes, and we'll see how it looks then. Okay, we've got it back up on the tiller. I've taken some wood off that top limb, which is the right hand side as you're looking at it, which was a bit stiff. So let's give it a few draws and see if that's made any difference. Okay, looking at that, we're still probably getting a slightly exaggerated bend in that bottom limb compared to the top. It has evened it up a bit. It's not quite as bad as it was, but I still think we need to take some more out of that top limb. So I will do that and get it back on the tiller, and I'll see you in a couple of seconds. Okay, welcome back. We've got it up there again. So I've taken some more off that top limb. Just as a reminder, the top limb's over here, which was a little bit stiff, and we were getting a bit of a bend in this bottom limb around there. So let's give that a few draws and see if that's made any difference. Out of interest, I used the plane on that top limb because I'm at the early stages where there's still plenty of wood, and then got rid of the flat areas that I made with the plane by using the rasp. I've also then scraped the limbs to get rid of any tool marks Okay, it's looking like it's bending a bit better now. It's starting to bend a bit more, but I still think we can take some off that top limb. It's still not bending as much as the bottom. But what we can see now we're actually drawing the bow a little bit further, is we can start to see individual areas that might or might not be bending, if you see what I mean. So in this bottom limb, if I hold it at that point, you can see it's actually fairly stiff around the handle, so it's stiff there, and that bend that we're getting is sort of happening, like I pointed out at the beginning of this segment, around here, and then is stiff towards the tip area of that bottom limb. And the top really is just sort of straight. It's not really bending at all as far as any particular area. It's just sort of generally looking a bit flat. So I think what I'll do is I'll actually take a little bit more out of that top limb, and I'll also then take a little bit out of these areas that are stiff in this bottom limb, but just a little bit, because obviously at the moment that top limb still isn't really bending very much. So let's do that, and I'll see you again in a few seconds. Right, back up on the tiller. Let's give it a few draws. See what's happening now. So that's some taken off the bottom limb and the top limb this time. Sorry if I keep hitting the tripod. So that's some off that bottom limb at the handle section, and the sort of tip last foot and a half, and again just some more generally off that top limb. Try and get it bending a bit. Giving it a good few draws here, get that work to bed in. It's still very stiff in that bottom limb in this section here. So we've got that bend there, so this section here is quite stiff. If you see that as I draw it, not a lot of movement going on there, it's quite flat. And also generally throughout the middle of the bow, the top limb and the bottom limb, you're looking at quite a lot of stiff area. So here and here, either side of the handle is quite stiff. We're starting to see some bend now in the top limb around this sort of area. Just starting to see some, but still very stiff, as you can see in the tip section. So through here. So I'm going to work on those areas much the same as I just have, by using the plane a little bit and then the rasp, and we'll see how that comes out. Now, out of interest, it's getting on for 7 o'clock at night here, so I'm actually tillering in the dark, which you're not supposed to do. Obviously it's not dark, I've got electric lights on, but it is night time out there, I promise you. So tomorrow morning, when I start working on this again, you're going to see this in a different light, in slightly more natural light, so sunlight coming through the windows. Now I'll be interested to see whether you see any difference. I certainly do when I use different lighting. So I'll see you in the morning, a few hours, good few hours yet, and yeah, we'll see how it looks then. tillering.
Well, good morning. After that refreshing sleep, we're back where we were again last night. So, as you can see, the light has changed. It's now daylight, so we've got a slightly different light that I was talking about, whether you can or can't see any difference. It's worth noting that working in any different type of light, when you're working on something where you're looking at very, very small variations, you might have the shadows making things look different, or even just the fact that you might be tired. Things might look different and can look different the next day. If you're struggling, put it down, work on it the next day. It's always worth bearing in mind. So I've done some work on those areas that we were talking about, and I'm going to give it a few draws now to see if that's made any difference at all, which of course it may not have done. If you do hear any knocking noises, it's me, because I keep bashing the blooming tripod, for which I do apologise. Okay, so we've got a slightly more even bend in that bottom limb now, but we've still got that quite stiff tip in that top limb, and also probably either side of the handle is still pretty stiff on both, to be honest. Okay, so I'm going to do some more work, I think, on those handle sections. So this section in the middle here, sort of from there and there, isn't really moving much. I don't think you can see when I'm drawing that. Those sections really aren't moving much. But that bottom limb's starting to bend a bit better now. Still slightly stiff here at this tip section there. And that top limb, yeah, it's still stiff at the tip to mid limb on there as well. So I'm going to work on those areas, get it back on, and I'll see you in a few seconds. Right, we're back on again. I'm starting to draw it a little bit further now. Okay, that bend's starting to even out now in general across the limbs. Not looking so bad comparing the two, which is what we're looking for, and we're getting close to the point now where I can brace this up, which will show us a bit more. What I'm thinking at the moment is that the limbs are slightly stiff, mid limb maybe slightly, so we might be looking at a bit of stiffness around here in that bottom limb, and a tiny amount in that tip, mid to tip of the top limb. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to brace that up and have a look and see what that looks like, see if we can see anything different. Okay, well, here we are, we've got the bow braced up, and as you can probably see, it immediately can show us a few things that we couldn't necessarily see quite as easy when that string was loose. We braced it up to probably an inch or two under bracing height, full bracing height, and you can see now that that bottom limb is still stiff. We've actually got a reasonably good bend in the top limb, but that bottom limb, it just isn't doing enough. You can see the angle is quite acute, it's quite straight compared to what is a relatively nice curve going on the top. We've still got this stiff spot here in that top limb, but that is coming round there when you draw it. So, and rather than getting any permanent bend into that top limb there, I'm not going to do much drawing of the bow. I'm actually going to take this down and work on this bottom limb. Okay, right, I've taken some out of that bottom limb and a tiny little bit out of that tip there, which is about sort of there. I haven't drawn it up yet, so there probably isn't much to look at as far as any change goes. So let's draw it up a few times. Okay, that's looking a bit better now. Okay, we're getting a much more even bend across the length of the bow now. That top limb, that tip's starting to move a bit more. Those of you that are an avid watcher and have seen my other videos will know that I don't worry a huge amount about the tips at this stage, because I'm going to be putting the nocks on and those tips will change. I will be changing that diameter of the overall size of the end of the bow there to fit into the nocks. So we are going to get more movement in that tip area once we've put on the nocks. So that's looking a lot better now. I think what I'll do is get it up to full bracing height, do the measurements, and let's have a look then. Okay, we've got that up to full bracing height now, so let's give that a draw and see how it looks. Well, I'm sure you can probably see that we're getting a much more pleasing shape there now. This bow's intended to go to 27, so I will draw it to there. That's 26. That's 27. There we are, that's 27. Well, there we go, folks. That's as far as I'm going to go with it at this stage. Is the main tillering stage. The second stage really now is to get the nocks on, and as I mentioned earlier on there where I was showing you the tillering, I will be altering the ends here, so they will be slimmed down a bit to meet the nock, so they're going to become a little bit less stiff. There's going to be a bit more bend in those tips, hopefully, once I've got those nocks on. And also I can then do any fiddling. I can check whether we've actually got any sideways bend in this bow, which actually there it doesn't appear to be too much in it at the moment, and the measurements between the belly and the string is correct at the moment. That may change once we put those nocks on, so that's something I'll have to check once I've done that. Well, there we are, folks. That's what I've been up to this week. This has taken a couple of days with a sleep in between. So yeah, if you'd like to subscribe, then please do. If you want to check out some other videos, you can also do that, and you can give us a thumbs up, a like, comment in the comment section below if there's anything else that you'd like to see. Happy bow making, and I will see you again soon.